Hello there and welcome to my channel Novice Modelling in a Midlife Crisis. My name is Andy and today we're going to be doing a quick what's in the box review on my AZUR FRROM 172 Martin B-10 Export WH-2 stroke WAA, which as you can see comes in markings for the Dutch East Indies and Argentina. Now, as per normal, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the blurb off the instruction book. We're going to have a quick look at the instructions and then we'll run through the actual parts. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with AZUR FRROM, they're a French manufacturer and they seem to specialise in sort of rare and hard to find aircraft. I think a lot of people would refer to them as being a short run manufacturer. Basically, I don't think they produce an awful lot, but what they produce is kind of interesting. So here we go, let's have a quick read about this rather interesting looking aircraft. The prototype first flew on February 16th, 1932. The B-10 combined several innovations, including an all-metal airframe, fully cowled engines, retractable landing gear, enclosed gun turret and internal bomb bay, which made it faster than fighters than in service. Although built in relatively small numbers, the B-10 was revolutionary and was the US Army Air Corps' first all-metal monoplane bomber. In January 1933, 14 pre-production YB-10s were ordered. Then USAAC received 103 of the main production version, the B-10B, equipped with the more powerful 675 horsepower Wright Cyclone R1820-19 engines. The B-10 was cleared for export in July 1936 as the Model 139 with Wright engines. Customers included China, 9, Argentina, 22, and then a further 12, Turkey, 20, Siam, Thailand, 6, and the Dutch East Indies, which was the biggest user, 13, 26, and some further aircraft. The Soviet Union, 1, Japan, 1, a first batch of 13 Model 139 WH-1 registered M501 to M513 was followed by 26 WH-2s numbered M51 to M539. All aircraft were delivered to the MLKNIL in the standard American colours of the time, with yellow wings, blue fuselage, sounds awful, and marked with Dutch roundels. At the end of the 1939, the roundels were replaced by large orange triangles. The aircraft were then camouflaged in 2 shades of green on top, light grey underneath from 16th of August 1940. These bombers were used to defend the Dutch East Indies. Some aircraft of 2 VIG-3 were sent to Singapore in December 1941 for 2 months. In 1936, the Argentine Army ordered 22 Model 139 WAA, equipped with Wright Cyclone R1820 G3 and 3 Focke-Wulf FW38B Via for training. The bombers were registered 501 to 522 and assigned to El Palomar from April 1938, then to Regimento Aero 1 on the Coronel Pringles. Aircraft 502, 509, 510 and 522 flew to Rio Grande, Tierra del Fuego between the end of April and May 11th. The bombers were served in natural metal marked with roundels and codes on and under the wings and on the fuselage, a large thin flag and the code of the leading edge of the wings. From October 1943 they were camouflaged in green above and pale blue below with small thin flag. In January 1944, the letter B for Bombardiero was added before the code. Aircraft B-51 and B-510 were damaged and received new nose sections. The last flight of a 139 WAA took place on July the 12th, 1954. Okay, so there's the instructions. I mean, I've got to be honest with you. I've opened the box and it all looks quite nice. It looks quite well detailed. I was kind of surprised by the size though, and I'll come to that later. We'll have a quick look at the instructions. As we can see, we've got some quite nice sprue diagrams here, so we know everything is correctly present. We then move on to the building. Now, these are very, very pale, and I'm looking at these and I'm thinking, geez, these are quite hard to actually see. But I think what they're doing here is they're giving the basic outline of the part, and then they're attaching all these small sections to it. It's kind of a different way to what I'm used to, but I think when you get used to the fact that the superstructure is quite sort of pale, it kind of works okay. So we start off with looking at the fuselage. We're going to put in the cockpit panel in here. This looks like more instrument panels. There is actually some photo etch with this as well, which I suppose is quite nice if you know what you're doing with it. Section 5 to 11, this is all regarding the inners of the aircraft. Some of the glazing panels, which are quite small, and some of the cockpit workings. Once we've finished loading our bottom half of the fuselage, we're going to put the top half on. Then on 13 and 14, we're going to attach the tail and the rudders. Section 15, we're going to start moving on to the wings, putting the engines into the cells, mounting the two pieces of the wings together, and then it looks like we're going to, 21, we're going to put the wings onto the fuselage, and then we're going to put all these pieces of glazed sections on as well, with a few other pieces like machine guns and whatever. There is actually an error in the instruction book because it goes to 21, 22, and then we have a separate sheet for 23 and 24, and it says missing instruction pages, so obviously that's a bit of a faux pas. Section 23, we're going to put the engines on. We've got a few sort of aerials and what have you to put on here. Section 24, we're going to put the wheels on, and that looks about it. We get a couple of pictures of it done up, so we can see here with the sort of full camouflage markings for the Dutch East Indies with the undersides and how to mount our Dutch East Indie triangles. And on here we have the Argentine Navy, plain green with pale blue undersurfaces. And here we have the one with these are the ones that they told about with the sort of rebuilt nose section after it had an accident, which you do get the parts for those as well if you want to build it in that way. It's kind of an interesting aircraft, I think you'll agree. There is actually another manufacturer that makes this, Special Hobby make this in a 172 also, although I can't find it available in the UK, and the postage is just ridiculous on the one that I have seen from Europe, I think it was. So the first thing that I noticed when I opened this up was I was kind of expecting kind of a big plane, and it really isn't that big. I mean, if I bring my ME110 in, the fuselage is pretty much the same size. So I had a look at a few photographs online, and what I realised is the pilot's cockpit section here, which I kind of expected for there to be two sorts of pilots side by side. There's actually only one pilot sitting in there. So then we have a gunner at the front, and this guy's a gunner and observer, I suppose, at the back. So it's actually not that big, which kind of surprised me because of the sort of vast sort of lumpy fuselage that it's got. So the actual parts themselves, we're looking at the first sprue here, which is the fuselage and the tail section. There's a lot of nice detail on the fuselage, which I think you can see here. There's lots of sort of panel lines and ridges. I'm not exactly sure what sort of metal this was made out of, or whether parts of this were fabric covered or what. But there's a hell of a lot of detail going on here, which I kind of like. You can see some areas sort of around here, which probably going to need a little bit of attention because there's a little bit of sort of flashy excess on them. But I mean, I don't think that's really that much of a problem. You can see a little bit in that window hole there, but I mean, this is not Airfix, this is not Tamiya, and so I think it looks pretty good, to be honest with you. I don't have any problems with that. Looks all right. I'm just, I've never built one of these AZUR FRROMs. I've got a few of them, but mainly because I like interesting aircraft. But hopefully they go together well. Okay. This is obviously the wing section. These are the upper surfaces, and again you can see we've got quite a lot of detail going on here as well. It all looks good. There's nothing apparent that's wrong with it. And then we've got the undersurface of the wings here. Again, there's plenty of detail on this. It's sort of recessed panel lines apart from on the ailerons and flaps and what have you here, which I'm guessing that's how it's supposed to be. This sprue is mainly to do with our engines by the look of it. So we got these sort of engine pieces in here, or parts to go in the engines, I think. We got our wheels, which really smooth, so I'm guessing that's the correct representation. And we've got our 2 propellers, which again are roughly the same size as my ME110. So I mean, it's kind of deceptive. You can kind of look at the picture and you think, oh god, that's a big thing, and it really isn't. So it's kind of weird. I don't know, I was expecting a huge thing. So our final main sprue, we've got, this looks like some parts of the floor for the cockpit. Don't really know what they are. Again, we've got the engines here, which they look really good, don't you think? They look quite nice. Then we've got some wheels, which I'm assuming that's steering. Got a couple of machine guns here. Again, these are probably inners for the fuselage. These look like cockpit controls and what have you. So it all looks quite present and correct. It all looks kind of cool, to be honest with you. I kind of like it. I mean, I was planning on building this quite a bit down the line because, like, I thought it was a big thing, and it's not that big. So I think I might have a go at this sooner rather than later. Probably within a month or so, maybe, because it's kind of interesting. So we've got a couple of glazing options on this. This is the rear part here, I'm thinking. Not too sure what that is. Don't know. These look like small windows to go in the fuselage. Got a couple of loose bits. This is the front gunner's station. This is going to be the pilot's canopy. Let's try and get that into there. So as you can see, it's just a single. It's a single pilot, single pilot in there. So it kind of threw me, to be honest with you. And this one is for the replacement nose for these Argentinian versions. Got another one here as well, which is some more small windows. So I don't want to lose any of those. We've got a small single piece of photo etch, which is always nice to have a bit of photo etch, I suppose, but I've never even tried a bit of photo etch, so great. And then we get our decals, which look pretty decent quality. These say designed by Special Hobby, actually, so I'm assuming they're produced by them as well. Maybe, the AZUR FRROM is the same as the Special Hobby, who knows. So we get our Argentinian markings here. We've got these large squares for the wings, upper and lower surfaces, and we've got some small ones for the sides here. And then for some reason I seem to have an extra set of these. Don't know why. No idea. Maybe it's because the wings have got quite a lot of ridges on them. Maybe it's just a spare set for you. So there we go. That's our little review. I did actually have someone request me do this. Don't mind doing that every now and again. So if you do see something, that I unbox or whatever, and you do want a quick review of it, please do just drop us a line and ask, and I'll try and accommodate you within a reasonable amount of time. So please do like and subscribe, and please do check out some of my other what's in the boxes and videos, which I think there's probably about 120 what's in the boxes now. There's some quite interesting aircraft in there if you brave the original sort of Spitfires that I kind of started doing 6 months ago. So that's all I've got to say. Nice looking aircraft, interest looking aircraft, kind of rare. Go buy one. It's probably around about 31 pounds I think I paid for it, so it's not exactly cheap, but it is kind of interesting. So be seeing you.